Rabbi Friedman, hello. Thank God it's Tuesday, and thank God we have connection, and we can see and hear you, and very much looking forward to what you have to say about the topic of today, which is very scary and on everybody's mind, and that is, are we witnessing and living Holocaust all over again, or maybe it has never ended and it was just something we wanted to believe? And why is today's society cannot tell apart defense against atrocities? Why are we so confused? And that makes us very worried and scared. And I think I speak for everybody at this time.
Are you so sure World War II is over? We're ready for World War III? No, sadly, very little has changed. But only in the fake news. We get the impression that the whole world is against us. It is so not true. 87% of all Americans support Israel today. It's just the college campuses. It's so telling, it's so revealing. There are only two kinds of people who don't get it, who can dismiss what happened in Israel as insignificant compared to what Israel is doing to Hamas. Only two people: religious people and educated people. Everybody else is normal. So let's not draw a fake picture, a false picture that causes panic. Things are becoming, like we've been talking like for 3 years now. Things are becoming very, very clear. The good is good and the bad is bad. There's no more confusion, unless you have a college degree. If you went to college, you're still as confused as ever. So the campuses are really a serious problem. And religion. Religion is still very, very distorted, very unreal, and very immoral. They don't know morality. So, fascinating thing, how history repeats itself. I'm not sure what that means, what that tells us, but it's fascinating how that happens. What Torah portion are we reading these days, this week?
Lech Lecha.
And in that portion, we read about Avraham taking on 4 different kings at the same time, militarily, and defeating them. And what does he do in the process? He frees the hostage, his nephew Lot. So he goes to war on multiple fronts in order to free a hostage. This week. That's pretty awesome, no? But it goes more than that, further than that. Avraham was born in the year 1948. Not on the Gregorian calendar. 1,948 years after Adam. So the original 1948. This event with the war and the 4 kings happened when Avraham was 75. 1,948 plus 75 is 2023. In the year 2023, Avraham saved the hostage and was able to be victorious over 4 kings at the same time. It's amazing. It's just amazing. And it's the same neighborhood, the same people, nothing has changed.
Rabbi Friedman, it is absolutely amazing. I agree. There are so many things. I mean, that's what we spoke about in our last program, that it seems like everything we've been reading and studying is just coming to life right in front of our eyes, and there's so and more. But I know you're saying that what we're seeing, the hatred, the obliviousness to the reality, to the truth, is only at college campuses. I mean, I'm sure it was bred and born and bred there, but we are seeing it spill over. I mean, into other countries, like France is saying, I mean, England is saying, let's have a 2-state solution in Israel, you know, and you know, all the bloggers that seem to have been conservative and stood for morality as it sort of appeared, you know, family values and things like that, are also condemning Israel defending itself and want to see some kind of a other solution to what is happening. So it's more, and also nobody has retracted the media that has been accusing Israel of bombing the hospital, and now everybody knows that that was absolutely not true, but no one has retracted anything. So, I mean, what do we make out of it? What do we make out of what is... I know I know I only want to hear Torah words. I do, because nothing else makes sense. But we still have to live in this world. How do we continue doing that?
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk practical.
Thank you.
2-state solution was never a reality. There was never an interest in a 2-state solution. The problem is that a 2-state solution sounds so nice. It sounds so good. And if you're secular, why would you have a problem with that? Unless you really believe that God gave the land to the people of Israel and they can't give it away. If you're secular, 2-state solution sounds really nice. So I don't think that everyone who says there should be a 2-state solution is necessarily an anti-Semite. They're just not realistic. Like all human morality is unrealistic. Plato had a beautiful concept of how we can have a perfect society. It was totally unrealistic. It was cruel, and it was anti-life. It sounded good on paper. The real problem is Israel played along. Every guy who argues that there should be a 2-state solution will quote you a prime minister of Israel or a minister of Israel who agreed, who approved, who was willing and ready to give away half the land and have a 2-state solution. That's something we have to stop doing. We have to stop creating our own problems. So now that Israel is being accused of murdering civilians, and then you hear Israelis say, oh no, we're very careful and we're going to be very careful and we're going to be very selective. Don't do that. Stop already. How many times do you have to make the same mistake and keep repeating it over and over? Actually, let me ask a simple question. Is it moral? Are you allowed, according to Torah, are you allowed to tell your enemy when you will not shoot? Whom you will not shoot? Where you will not shoot? You're not allowed to do that because it encourages violence. If you return 1,000 Palestinian criminal Palestinians, or wherever they are, if you release them in exchange for one Jewish soldier, that sounds so beautiful. What a people. What a nation we are. A Jewish life is so precious to us that we will release 1,000 criminals in exchange. What did you just do? What did you just do? In exchange for one Jew, you put thousands of Jews in danger. You need proof? One of the people they released was the mastermind of the massacre that just happened. He was already in jail. So check your morality. It may not be moral at all. So I hope that we're learning finally, after repeating the same mistake at least 4 wars, stop already. If it's not working, try something else. Stop saying we're the only democracy in the Middle East. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. And that's not who we are. That's just what we've been doing. We are the Jewish people in our God-given land. That's who we are. And people will be much more impressed if you say that than if you say you're a democracy. Democracy has become a serious problem for Israel. Before this tragedy, the country was torn apart over issues of democracy. Should we have this kind of democracy or that kind of democracy? And it was tearing the country apart. Looking back at it, it was such a petty issue, such a childish disagreement. It wasn't worth a minute of time, and it was tearing the country apart. I think it's time to grow up. We're not a democracy. We are the Jewish people, the descendants of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, to whom this land was promised. So even if we want to give it away, we're not allowed to. So stop with the state solution. Stop with protecting the civilians. That's not a Jewish commandment. We are told not to kill prisoners of war. That's true. Prisoners of war means people who surrender. Enemy soldiers who surrender, you're not allowed to kill. But if they're busy killing you, you have to protect the civilians? Who decided that? A couple of people in Geneva? People who just finished participating in a Holocaust? Where are we getting our morality from? And here's the really practical, important, pressing issue. They keep saying that Israel is preparing to enter on foot, on the ground, because they have to get rid of the tunnels, which are booby-trapped, which are dangerous, which is going to cost a lot of lives. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to put your soldiers at risk. There's no need to go in on foot, and I hope seriously they never do. Why risk more Jewish lives in avenging other Jewish lives? It's not a good deal. It's ridiculous. particularly since it's not necessary. There are other ways of ridding ourselves of the Hamas. Don't have to sacrifice more Jewish lives. So I think it's a blessing from heaven that they're holding up on it. Hopefully they'll have time to think and decide not to go. I know that Egypt wanted to get rid of the tunnels in its territory, so they flooded them, and they all collapsed. Well, there's one possibility. Flood it. Don't send your soldiers in there to be killed. That's the practical side. The practical side is the morality of a Jewish war is that you end it quickly. What does it mean to end a war? It means to discourage the enemy from making another war for at least 40 years. We've not done that once. Not once. We have a war 10 years after another war? No. The first rule of war is do it quickly. Don't let a whole generation grow up all their lives in bunkers and sirens and war and hatred and death. Don't destroy a whole generation. End the war quickly. But end it. So, no ceasefire unless the enemy unconditionally surrender. You have not won the war. Let's stop playing games. Oh, there's so much damage. That's war. There shouldn't be a war. The best question that I've heard people ask, interview. Oh, it's a disproportionate reaction. Okay, tell me what's proportionate. And none of them will answer that. None of the pro-Palestinian people will answer that question. Tell me what's proportionate. Because what they really mean is you have no right to defend yourself at all. So, we got to stop listening to that nonsense. If somebody says, "Oh, how many people were killed?" Whatever it takes. War means create a condition of peace. So how many people are going to get killed? This is not potatoes that you sit and count them. It's a question of, are the enemy resigned to not trying again for at least 40 years? Does that take killing 20 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people? Whatever it takes. And if you don't do whatever it takes, then you've killed a bunch of people for nothing. So really what we should be focused on is not what they say. Nothing they say is true. Nothing they say is moral. Ignore it. What are we saying that might not be right? Why do we keep promising to protect civilians? You know you can't. You know you're going to be condemned no matter how hard you try. Why do you keep promising? And even if you do in fact protect civilians, you don't have to announce it to the enemy to encourage them to use human shields. By saying, "I will not shoot civilians," you put every civilian in danger. Torah morality is the only one there is. There is no other. What sounds like morality turns out to be cruel, destructive, and immoral. Don't promise that you won't shoot children. Don't do that. You're putting children in danger.
Rabbi Friedman, everybody knows, but nobody's paying attention, that Israel gave 24-hour notice, like we're supposed to for Gaza citizens to protect their children, to protect their families, to get people out of the way. 24 hours. If somebody asked for more, I'm sure it would have been also allowed. But anyway, it was done. We did do things in according to the Torah law. But no one seems to pay attention to that or notice that or think that this is anything good. I have a different question about the fact that we're made to believe that there are countries that stand by us, like United States, NATO, and is it real? Is it true? Because we've truly seen otherwise. We've seen how much money was poured into Iran over the years and we understand how that money was used. Again, that money was given by the United States, and our other enemies have been getting quite a bit of our budgets, and again, we're not sure what that was used for, but we're pretty certain it was used to strengthen their military, and we can see it and feel it now. Can we continue trusting those countries that are saying that they stand with Israel right now?
It depends what you mean by trust.
Count on them.
No. Never in history. You cannot count on anyone. Do you trust them? They've proven to be trustworthy, so yes. But rely on them? That puts you in a very dangerous place. You never do that. Never. And it's not because we don't trust in this one or that one. Human beings are not that reliable. Nothing personal. No insult meant for anybody. But you can't put your life in another country's hands. If we could do that, we wouldn't need to have a country. We wouldn't need to have an army. So you cannot do that, ever. It's reckless, it's irresponsible, it's childish. So the Torah says, King David says, do not depend on princes, because there are certain circumstances that those princes cannot control. So if they can't guarantee their own wealth and health, how can you trust to their wealth and health? They can't even trust it. So we never. The only trust we have that is absolute is in God, who gave us the land, who told us how to behave, and told us how to fight a war.
Rabbi Friedman, but right now we're in a position that if, God forbid, the whole world turns against us, we really physically have no chance, physically. So the truth is,
we've been there before without an army. So not to say that an army is the whole solution, but to some degree we're better off now than we ever were. So we can't let that scare us either. We can't let anything scare us, because then we've given up the ghost. You've given up the game. Nothing. If we have to take on the whole world, we'll take on the whole world. In the war of liberation, how many Jews were fighting? A million? They used to have a million? It was a tiny number of people with no weapons, with no training, with no... Now, we're not intimidated by numbers. We can't afford to be intimidated by numbers. We've always been a minority, but an indestructible minority. Netanyahu spoke at the UN. He made a strong point. Despite all the efforts of the entire world throughout history, here we are. We're here. How to explain that? Nobody knows. But we're here, and we will be here. And whatever miracles it takes, so there'll be miracles. If you don't trust in miracles, you're not realistic.
The miracles are happening, Baruch Hashem, and may they continue. And may they continue to happen. Rabbi Friedman, the big headline of yesterday and today is that Elon Musk has said that we're sleepwalking our way into the World War III. I kind of think we are in the World War III already, and has been for a while. The question is, how severe do you think that it will get? Do you have an idea?
What does he mean by that? Where are we asleep? Who is asleep?
Yeah. I think he says the whole world is asleep, and that we're not realizing that we're going towards World War III. But the truth of the matter is, we're there. Well, it's my opinion. It's a little different from Milan's. But what is your opinion?
There's no question that we are right now in a world global showdown. Does it have to be with bombs? No, because it's not about bombs. See, we now realize the massacre that happened had nothing to do with territory, with states, with governing, had nothing to do with that. That's the scary part. If they want territory, they would at least do what might earn them some territory. They didn't. It gained them nothing but notoriety, and that's all they wanted. As far as they're concerned, they were completely and totally successful. Do they now have a state of their own? They never wanted a state of their own. Hamas doesn't want a state of its own. Hamas doesn't know how to run a little neighborhood like Gaza. They want a state of their own? No, they don't. So it's clear that the showdown is not over territory, and it's not over who has a right to which land or to which mountain. The problem is right and wrong, good and evil. Evil people are evil. Stop blaming it on territory. Not having a land does not make you evil. We know, because we haven't had a land for 2,000 years. So don't treat evil as if it's a byproduct. It's not. Everything is a byproduct of morality, of good and evil. So the good and the evil are the original default positions. What they do to the world is shocking and changing all the time. Yes, there is a showdown, and it's the whole world. No one can escape this. No one stays neutral. No country, no people, no nation, no philosophy. Everyone is involved. And that again is so amazing. It's so amazing if people would just have a little intelligence. How is it that the whole world is again focused on the Jews? How is that? We are the center of attention for the whole world again. In other words, God keeps giving us an opportunity to speak to the world. They're all listening. They're hanging on every word we say. And what are we saying? Oh, we're a democracy. We have a right to defend ourselves. You sound like such babies. You are the oldest nation, certainly in Torah and in Revelation. Talk like you're 4,000 years old, not like you're just born yesterday. Say something that is awesomely true. Don't parrot what people are saying. Oh, we're a democracy, the only democracy. Have you read the papers? Democracy is a disaster in the democratic countries. Stop priding yourself on something that is a total failure. Democracy is wonderful if good people do it. Bad people with a democracy, just as bad as communism. I really wish Jews would stop saying that. Why aren't you proud of who you are? You're trying to be proud of something you're not. Get up and talk like a Jew. You're speaking to the United Nations. They're all listening. And you say the same things you said 30 years ago. It's so painful to listen. Nothing new, nothing deep, nothing profound, nothing divine.
Rabbi Friedman, how do we change that and fast? Since we do have the spotlight on us, since the whole world is watching, we're still where we were, where people are still not, have been in Golus and in exile for a long time. People are not educated to who we are. We are not educated to who we are. How can we give the message to the world in this state which we're in?
Should I tell you the story about the professor on the campus? There was a pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas rally on campus. Even some Jews participated. And nobody said anything until one Jewish professor got up, a man who does not believe in God, who does not believe in Torah, but he got up and he started screaming. These are lies, this is anti-Semitism. The police arrested him for his own protection. The next day he was back in school teaching. One woman came over to him and gave him a bouquet of flowers. And he said, "What is this?" She said, "I was just so moved by what you did yesterday. You're so brave and you so, made me very proud." He says, "Oh, you're Jewish?" She says, "No." He said, "So how did I make you proud?" She says, "You acted like the chosen people." And that is awesome. He said, I don't believe that. I don't believe we're the chosen people." She said, "It doesn't matter whether you believe it or you don't believe it. We know. We know you're the chosen people." So, are we going to have politicians who will say the right things? Even rabbis who will say the right things? Maybe not. The people who are chosen will act chosen, and the world will know it. That's what's happening. There has never been so much godliness in everyday life as there is today in Israel. Secular singers are singing songs from the Torah. The divide between the ultra-Orthodox and the secular has broken down mutually. The things that are going on in Israel, they're unspeakably good in face of the unspeakable evil.
You know, I listen to the military briefs every morning from Israel, from IDFS, and the generals there are very surprised that there are 3,000 Haredi religious Jews have enlisted in the army, and they're surprised by this movement because that was the big divide before, that religious observant Jewish people do not go into the army. Should they be surprised, or Rabbi Friedman, what do you make out of that?
It's a very pleasant surprise, yes. Long overdue. But finally, beautiful things are happening. But the ones who make all the noise are still confused. So this constant talk about we're going to go in on foot, there's going to be, we're going to enter, we're going to go through the tunnels. Don't do it. Don't say it if you don't mean it. Talk straight. Stop trying to outwit the world. Just do the right thing. Maybe talk less. By the splitting of the sea, when the Jews were caught, the Egyptians were coming from behind them and the sea was in front of them, and they cried to God and said, what should we do? Moshe said, watch as God fights the war for you and you remain silent. I always wondered, what is this, you remain silent? Why is that important? I understand it now. God is going to perform all his miracles. Can you please do us a favor and stay silent? Just shut up. Stop telling the world what you're going to do and you're planning to do and how you're going to do. Just be quiet. You're not fooling anybody. Do what you have to do. Then explain why you did it. Don't explain why you're going to do it. Well, let me put it in different words. We have never won a single PR battle. Every time there was a PR crisis, we lost. Every single time. Now we thought, no, this one we're going to win. I mean, we have videos of the ferociousness of the attack. This one we're going to win. Not even for a week. We lost it again. You know what? We're just not good at it. But whenever we go to war, we're very good at it. So how about sticking to what we're good at? Don't even fight the PR war. You're just going to lose. Do what you have to do, what the army knows you have to do. And the politicians, be quiet. Be quiet. It's a necessary part of the victory.
Rabbi Friedman, great advice. I hope the ones that are supposed to be listening are listening, and more than listening, doing.
I doubt it. This is more in the form of a prayer. We're praying that they'll be quiet. Yeah.
We're praying exactly for what you're saying, for everything that you're saying.
The only thing that we can fully take responsibility is for our own behavior. All the talk and all the shouting, it's their fault, they're putting the civilians... Stop. Stop it. You've been doing this for 70 years and you haven't gained an inch. Isn't it time to quit? And every time you went to war, you were miraculously successful. Take a hint. Don't be so dense. So I'm all for the government. There's, God forbid, no resistance or objection to Netanyahu. He's at the helm of our ship, and if he doesn't succeed, God forbid. So he has to succeed, and we pray for his success. But it would be nice to hear the success voiced. But we're absolutely behind him. Absolutely behind him. We can't afford to have him lose any battle. And he will be successful, there's no question. But will this be the final war, or just one more in a string of wars? So again, Jewish morality says the war has to be quick and it has to be decisive. If you don't finish, if the enemy does not publicly surrender, you just killed a lot of people for nothing.
Let's pray that does not happen. Rabbi Friedman, thank you so much. This was important, insightful, super wise as always, as what we look to you for every single week. Thank you so much. Thank you for keeping up the morale of the entire world right now, and thank you for this time that you allocate for us. And hopefully next week we'll be talking about some good news, a lot of good news, and may we only see goodness in everything. Thank you so much.
Amen.